Well, so HSIs are really cool, but I think that at a minimum, everybody should have like basically a 15-year ladder. And then, I like the idea. I mean, honestly, I like the idea of like looking at like when stakes are ending and everything like that. But I also like the idea of you knowing what time of the year, whether it's your birthday or just an important day for you or something to look forward to every day that you can like, it's that delayed gratification that you can reward yourself. The thing I love HSIs. I love the idea of HSIs and everything like that. But the fact that you can sell them and all that, I think that before you do that, everybody should native stake on go.hex.com and have that staking ladder. And even if it's just one stake for your birthday every year, just have that like foundation. Because if Hex ends up surviving long term and doing what we think it could do, like it's going to do great things. And even if it just has does a tenth of what it did last cycle, then one of your stakes, like if you're buying now and then staking it out, like just one of your stakes is going to pay for all of the money that you put in. So I would say get that stuff taken care of first, and then sure, you can start speculating on some of the other stuff. I mean, like if Hedron's really low, you can maybe buy that to get older T shares and stuff. So that's like a great thing. But I always say like do the important stuff first, right? So like if you're ever listening to people, they'll tell you like get an emergency fund, get the stuff done that you got to get done first, and then you can start getting a little spicy, a little fancy. You want to get some maxi to hold liquid, you want to get whatever, you want to get some HSIs, you want to get some Hedron, you want to get some Mycosa, and I love all that stuff. I mean, I have it all, but yeah, I think you got to do, and unfortunately, like there's people that are coming up in the community that haven't made it yet, and some of these people are like new, and they're saying to focus on like the wrong things first a little bit. And it's like, dude, look around. Like, I'm around a bunch of retired people here from Hex, and it's like they all did the same thing, right? So going against that is not.
What is that formula, by the way?
Like staking for the long term. Like the thing is, like, look how much T-shares have gone up in the last 3 years. Like you stake for the long term, you ride out the volatility, make a good ladder. It doesn't have to be every week, it doesn't have to be every month. It could even be once a year. But set that up to where you're not going to deviate from that. And then when the time comes, like if you did a 15-year ladder, and then let's say next year it's still the bear market, right, on your birthday or whatever day, you could always just say, I'm just going to roll this whole thing out, 2 or 3 years, and just keep going from there. Or put the interest out, 15 years, and then put the principal to the next year or something like that. Roll it into a bigger stake. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can do, but like you should get the big stuff done first. I think you should just follow the recipe that's worked for other people, and a lot of that's thinking long term. Because I see a lot of these like YouTubers and like new people in the community and stuff like that, and I'm like, I know these people would not have been able to hold when ETH dropped 95% last bear. There's maximum FUD. Bitcoin was doing better. Everybody's saying ETH is a scam. Like people just don't know because they weren't here. But I highly doubt those people would have been able to, to hold liquid. And most people can't. That's why there's not many people in crypto that are retired, right? There's not. Yeah. It's not like there's a ton of us.
Well, when they say too, okay, I think the most common, you talk about people not wanting to stake or things like that.
Yeah.
The point, I guess, the biggest thing that comes up is, well, I don't think Hex has another 100x or 1,000x in the next couple of years. That's my timeline. I want to invest in the next 10,000x within, 6 months to 2 years, whatever it is. They just don't think the multiples in Hex are there anymore. What would be the counter to that? Like, how would you be like, no, you're not thinking about it the right way, or do they have a point? Like, what would you say?
Think about like this. They're the biggest players in Hex. A lot of us staked for 15 years before it was worth anything, a fraction of a cent, and we were thinking about the long term. You're going to have diminishing returns in any asset, but as the time goes on, it's going to be more and more safe. So you're telling me you want to find the next 10,000x. Like when Hex did a 10,000x, there was like nobody here. There was nobody in the community. It was a ghost town. We had one streamer. Like it was And I don't even know if Hexologist was streaming at that time. I can't even remember. We might have had no streamers. You know, the community was extremely small. Everybody was calling us scammers in the chat. So no, you think that you're going to find it. I've been in crypto a long time. It doesn't happen. I've said it many times. I had a friend kill himself, and he's been in crypto many years because he just couldn't take it anymore. Okay. So like, you think you're smarter than everybody else. You think you're going to do really, really well. There's a reason why I say that you should still be buying ETH, because it's the safest with, you know, from risk return ratio. It's pretty safe, right? It's got most government clarity, and it still has a good amount of X's left. So it's like, it just becomes a thing where it's like the next generation of hexagons, like we were talking about, like when another 1,000 hexagons move to the island, Hex is that much more, you know, the safe play, right? Yeah, maybe it doesn't have 10,000x left in it. Maybe it doesn't have 1,000x left in it. Maybe it's another like 500x over the long term or whatever, but you're still getting paid interest. You know, like if you watch DIY investing thing, he overlaid the Bitcoin early cycle with our cycle. It looks almost exactly the same. The difference is that Hex is paying you for the long term 30, you know, to 50% APY to hodl through all of that. So if you want to risk it and go for something that is unproven and everything, just know that you're taking more risk, you know? So putting...
Can you take that same argument? Don't you think the Bitcoin maxis said that about Ethereum, maybe even Hex, some of them? Like how does it...
Absolutely. Yeah.
How does it make this time different with Hex? Like, why is it different this time?
Well, it is and it isn't in certain senses, right? Like, so Bitcoin has less X's, right, than Ethereum. The thing with Ethereum is that Ethereum's game mechanics are just better than Bitcoin's. And even when it was inflationary, when I was early in ETH, I think it was like over 8% inflation. So it was over 8% inflation. Bitcoin was going down, but I still thought that, you know, it just had so much more use case and use potential that it would eventually flip Bitcoin. I mean, we were talking about the flipping in, you know, 2016, early 2017, right? And we came fairly close a couple times. So, or at least once. So, you know, now all the theses have been proven true. So like when we're saying, you know, oh, Hex is going to hit another all-time high, it's going to do all this, the more times it does that, the less X's you'll have. There's more uncertainty right now, right? We're at 4 cents. There's a lot of uncertainty. Some people say Hex is never going to hit all-time high again, right? So there's more uncertainty now, which means that there's more X's right now. Hex said one cycle. That's not very much. Like, this is the first bear that Hex has had. So it's like, so you want to get into something with no cycle, and you want to throw a substantial amount of money to where you can retire off of it. You know, it's like, you might make it, you might not. Like, what the money I threw into Hex was low compared to my overall net worth. I've said this before. Like, if I would have put all my ETH into Hex in the first month, I would have been like probably a prosperous Poseidon. I would have had that much because of how much ETH I had. So why didn't I do that? Because it was completely unproven, and I had the safer thing. Like, it was I was 100% certain I was going to retire from crypto from my ETH. I knew it. I'm like, ETH is going to hit multiple thousands of dollars. ETH is probably going to hit $10,000 one day. I have tons of it. Like, you know, it's safer. But can Hex outperform? So what did I do? I sold some of my Bitcoins. You know, my Bitcoin was like maybe $9,000 at the time. And I put a bunch of Bitcoins into Hex. And I was like, well, I can lose this, but like ETH is going to outperform Bitcoin anyway. So I was just kind of making that like risk return ratio with it. So yeah, it's true that like something else can do more X's, but it's not as proven as Hex. And like Richard's already showed the lengths that he'll go. You know, the OA put up a $20 million buy wall, you know, at 20 cents. He forked a whole network to make, you know, staking cheaper. So it's like he's shown the devotion to Hex and everything long term. Yeah, I think, and I think people love yield. And like, where are you getting yield from? You know, there's not many places that provide, you know, good yield. And a lot of people got completely wrecked chasing yield last cycle. You know, Ohm failed, Strong failed, Thor failed, Celsius failed, you know, Voyager failed. Hex is still here.